welcome back to Japan, where today I'm going to be checking out for the first time, because I think I've finally found a video of theirs that I can review without getting copyright removed. Scandal, a band who are obviously one of the big names in Japanese music and one of the big names in all-female rock bands, and have been around in Japan for long enough that I think most people have heard of them. However, again, a lot of the music I listen to, especially in Japan, is not necessarily from the mainstream. I'm not supposed to be trying to come across like some hipster or something who I only listen to rare vinyls. I don't even actually have a vinyl player. I don't like vinyl. I prefer CD. In fact, I'm fine with MP3. Anyway, yeah, I'm not one of those hipstery people. It's just a lot of the music I like is kind of out of the mainstream. So Scandal, again, are one of those bands who, like with Bandmate, I hadn't really had much exposure to. But today I'm going to be starting with the very modestly titled Masterpiece. Let's see where this goes. And, oh yeah, I'm listening on my phone. Just while my laptop's, doing the last few videos. Masterpiece, here we go. Oh no, I deselect. Yeah, I got copyright removed again, so as I can't show you me reacting to the song, let's skip through this on fast forward and go straight to my analysis. Alright. Yeah, really glad to finally be familiar with them. It was interesting, actually. I always say one of the good things is when a song's quite complicated, which that was more rhythmically than anything else, it's always interesting when you can just predict where the changes are going to come. That's the sign of, I think, a band who are really good at doing something fluid and natural. And that's one of the things that stood out about that. A lot of things, including the riff, are quite simple. Not particularly technical, but they just kind of worked. And the more as that song was going on, I got the feeling this is just something that everything seems to click and work with them. I mean, obviously, from my knowledge, at least, they've been around for quite a while, so this is something which is not new to them. But it almost felt like just they could, not saying they are, but they could just dial it in if they wanted to. Now, one of the things I liked about that, and I often point this out, is that I do think that this great musicianship is a fantastic thing, but I always say that great songwriting will always trump great musicianship. And in the case of this, no one was really showing off any particularly technical musicianship. There was nothing particularly over the top, but it was always engaging, which I think was down to, like I say, those little stoppy-starty changes, the fact that the verses were not just copy-paste of each other, they had like musical differences. It felt like they put a lot of detail into the songwriting, which made this really interesting. Sonically, sound-wise, I hate to say that it was typical of Japanese pop rock, which is where I'm going to kind of put it, because of the fact that I think that Scandal could be kind of seen as one of the quintessential Japanese pop rock acts, and therefore because of the influence that I think they have upon other bands, it'd be hard to put them into a category of being typical at all, because I think they are actually setting a lot of those patterns that other acts copy. I'd be interested to know, actually, because I'm more familiar with Chatmonchy, and they kind of sound like Chatmonchy harder. I was wondering if anyone can actually name, who knows came first. I'm assuming Scandal came before Chatmonchy, but anyway, there are certain acts who just their sound is quintessential of Japanese music scene, and they are one of them. So sound-wise, I don't think we could pressure them to do much beyond what they did. It wasn't particularly experimental from a sonic perspective, but typical band. You got your drummer, your guitarist, your singer, your bassist. What more can you ask? And that's where I would kind of place this, as I have done with some other songs before, in that saying they seem to have just, at least from this one song, seem to know what they are and be fantastically adept at executing that. There seems to be a real precision to the execution, to the point where they, like I say, have managed to take this relatively simple song and eke every last perfect idea out of it, every last little stop-start, every last little change that they could. It seems to be in there. It's a simple formula, beautifully executed. Now, and actually the chorus was quite catchy as well, which is something sometimes Japanese bands don't always hit the catchiest choruses, but that was a really good catchy chorus to go in as well. So like I say, beautifully executed. I will just quickly add a little mention for the video though, which I thought, I really enjoyed that. Obviously I don't know enough about them to know much about their style, but you do see photos of them a lot because they're in the press a lot in Japan, or certainly have been in years gone by. And I just really like the style of the video. It's very colourful, very engaging. A lot of the times these rock bands, harder rock bands, especially in Japan, feel the need to be overly serious or overly dark to gain the impression of being more legitimate. Whereas this was quite the opposite. This was fun to the point where if you didn't know or if you couldn't recognise the quality of it, you might mistake them for being more poppy than they actually, I would assume, are. I also like the style choices. I mean, I'm not exactly a fashion expert, but I love that the style choices had a weird sort of 90s colourful vibe. You know, the guitars were colourful, the lead singer was wearing what appeared to be like a Mac, kind of reminded me of like Graham Coxon from Blur, how he was always wearing the most uncool clothes and yet somehow managed to make it look surprisingly cool. There was just a sort of a nice vibe to it all. It didn't feel like it took itself seriously, too seriously, should I say. It didn't feel like it took itself too seriously. It didn't feel like it needed to show off and impress. It just felt like it was aware of what it was on so many levels. So, and that's actually a really powerful thing. Like the best punk bands always just knew they were punk and didn't try and overshoot. The best sort of advanced, twiddly, sort of virtuoso bands don't try to, engage themselves with, doing pop songs. And I think that's the thing, you've got to know what you are. And with the amount of time they've been around, assumably as a tool, I'd like to hear some of their early material if you guys can recommend it. This is a band who clearly know what they are and clearly very good at executing what they can do. So I definitely want to hear more. As usual, I'll be putting forward a request for you guys to suggest songs. And I'm not going to over-inform myself. I'm going to let it come down to a discussion in the comments and down to what you guys lead me through. And so hopefully I'll have a nice experience with this band if we can find more songs that I won't get copyright removed. Anyway, for now, until you want to see me again in Japan and listen to more videos, which you can do at any time because there's lots of them now. But until then, for now, ciao ciao.